Hello, I don't know if you can hear that noise in the background. That's a deer running away. Um, I've never heard a deer make sound before. Um, it's almost like a weird growl, like a belchy growl. Very, very scary. Luckily I saw what it was, otherwise I'd probably think something was coming to murder me. So I'm out walking. I'm been doing a little night walk. I've actually been doing it a lot recently. It's been really nice to sort of head off later in the evening. Like the sun's just setting, so hopefully there's enough light for this video. Um, the sun is just coming down, and there's no one out on the trails, and it's a really nice time to come down. And I just have like no headphones in or anything, and I just use the time to reflect on my day or my weekend. Yeah, it's a really nice way to start thinking through things. But since I'm out here and there's no one around, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for me to make this month's Patreon update. So this is the July update, and I'm committed to do these as like a regular thing. So I thought I'd make this little video for you guys, kind of give you an update of what's going on. We're now at 5 Patreons, or patrons. Is that what you call them? God, I think when I get a bit a bit bigger, I might know what the name is. I think it's 5 patrons. 5 patrons, yeah. Anyway, we've got 5 now, which is very exciting. It's very steadily growing. I have lots of interest, and I think a lot more will come when I'm actually off on some adventures and people have a reason to get involved. I think at the moment they don't really know why they should become one, if that makes sense. So I'm very excited for this. I like kind of just updating people what's going on, and it's a very good way for me to sort of get my thoughts out. I think, you know, people used to use diaries or used to write down stories and they'd jot down sort of ideas in their head. This is very modern for me, considering the fact that I am very, I struggle with technology, let's say that. So it's a very modern way of me doing this. But I think it's very therapeutic in a way, and hopefully you gain something from it as well. So for this update, I'm going to go through a few bits and pieces. I have them written down here on my phone. So if you see me look down, it's not because there's an adder in the reeds or something. I'm fine. So let's start with the Patreon stuff. So I'm going to release this video. With it, I'm also going to release. God, you can always hear things around in the woods. It's very scary. I'm also going to release 2 new bits of 2 new bits of content with it. So I'm going to have some downloads for you guys. So that's like wallpapers and stuff. I thought that might be a bit of fun. And if people sort of join later, they might want to use some. So I've got some of my photography that I've put into some downloads, like wallpapers for various things, and some stuff for Instagram. If you guys are on Instagram and you want some cool highlights and stuff. Over the years, I've got like various artists to come together and do bits and pieces for me. And I thought, like, as a little gift from me to you, I just put them up for a download. I've also got my photos from a photo shoot I did recently for the website. So I've just got them. I've just had them all downloaded. So I'm going to put up that with like a little story behind that one, because I had a very exciting day, and there's sort of pictures of me eating peanut butter and heading off with my backpack into nowhere with no shoes on. Very exciting. So that's a story to tell, but I'm going to leave that for the other bit of content. So I thought I'd just kind of update you. Right, let's begin. So the first thing, the thing that's really changed is my free time, the amount of time I have. So I was working full time at Waitrose. I was basically, Waitrose is basically a supermarket here in England. For those that aren't in England, it's a very fancy supermarket. Don't get me wrong. It's sort of like the elite of the supermarkets. So I was, through COVID, there wasn't much. There's not really much work going. A lot of people were furloughed. Not many people doing anything, and pretty much the only job that you could do through lockdown, like one of the only things that you couldn't do sort of at home online or something, was working in a supermarket. So during all the crisis, all the crazy things that are going on, I'm sort of there just like stacking shelves and avoiding people, and just some crazy experiences were happening. I had a woman like throwing baked bean cans at people, and I had people coming with an umbrella and like trying to get people away from her, like stay away, stay away. Absolute madness, like carnage. It's very strange to see. It was almost like what I imagined Black Friday would be like in America, where these people sort of coming in and tearing TVs off each other. It was the same, but for shopping, it was very, very weird. We seem to have calmed down now and come through that, and I've made plenty of money. It looks like I've got enough funds for the expeditions and plans for next year. So what I've decided to do is come down to one day. I think they were. I brought them in. I brought them into the office. I brought sort of like what I called the suits, like the my bosses or whatever, into the office, and I tried not to be menacing, but I wanted to sort of, I wanted to come in and sort of, this is what I need to happen. I feel like I'm working too much. So I sat at the head of the table. I could have got my little glass of water and I was swirling it around as they came in. I felt sort of like a James Bond character, like like an evil man with a rabbit turning around in his chair. Like, come in. It was really ridiculous. I don't know who I thought I was. So I had 3 managers come in, and I spoke to them, and I was like, oh, I want to come down on my shifts. And they were thinking, oh, you want to drop one day, you want to come down to 4 days, and I was like, no, like, I just want to do 1 day a week. So I've gone from having a year and a half away, travelling, barely working. I did some farm work, I did a little bit of bar work, but the most I ever did was like 3 days a week. And when I was on the farm, most of the time I'd be out drinking, and then the next day I'd be sleeping under the trees, hungover. So I haven't really worked properly for a long time. And I come back and I've sort of done almost 5 months full-time work. I've just cracked on and made some money for the next trip. So I decided to go down to 1 day, because I don't need a lot of money at the moment, and I think the extra time is going to be really good for me to develop some skills. I think it's easy to sort of say, oh, you can always get a bit more money, but I think there's a lot more value to be gained from the free time, depending on how I use it. Like if I'm sitting at home doing nothing, then it's no value to anyone. But if I can use it to build some skills, some qualifications, if I can use it to build up the expeditions and grow, develop those skills, it's going to be more valuable than just being at the supermarket. It doesn't make sense. So I've got all this free time, and it's giving me time to reflect and plan the new things, and it's also giving me lots of time for new expeditions. So I suppose you couldn't really call it an expedition. I've been calling them micro adventures. There's this big thing in England of micro adventures, like 2 or 3 day trips, and that's sort of what I'm working towards, is doing more of these leading up to next year. Obviously got this long period of time before my plans to go away again, and I want to use it. I want to, get more people on board with social media and keep growing it. I think this is where it all will begin. So, just another quick story for you guys. I finished the North Downs Way recently. I've been doing it on and off, and I literally stopped for 5 weeks in between at some point because I was working a lot. There was a lot of stuff going on with COVID. And no, you weren't really allowed to go out, or not for a long period of time, so I was trying to be careful and sort of stick to the rules. Didn't really want to be out on the trail and someone sort of says go home, and I'm like, it's a long way home. So we couldn't really do that until things eased off, and then I finished North Downs Way and had this wonderful experience. You have this time in isolation, you have a time where you're not doing much, and you sort of get this, or your mind clouds. I can imagine it's like something that a lot of people must be struggling with, still now, and a lot of people are through it. But there's the stress of it, there's sort of anxiety of isolation, and there's the, well, you're not sure when it's going to end. It's strange. It's especially for someone I feel with my mind rather active and just thinking through scenarios. And I need to get out sometimes. For me, I need to get out on the trails. It's where I do all my thinking. It's where I process things and reflect. And without that, I just sort of get a bit lost, really. I really struggle to make sense of what's going on without having that time away, just alone with my thoughts, just to let them run themselves, basically to the end. They've gone all the way through the motions, and I sort of turn these things around in my head enough, and then I sort of come back and I feel refreshed and really good. And after obviously months of not being able to do that, I had this really lovely trip when I finished off the walk into Dover, which I've never been to. And I came along, I did some walking, I carried all the gear with me, I sort of had this really beautiful walk. There was no one out. It was super new for people to actually be out on the trails, so no one was around. It was just peaceful and quiet, and lots of interesting things happened on the way. I met one couple of people, and it just happened to be at the intersection where you can choose which way to go. And they're like, you have to go this way. It was really strange. It almost felt like the snake from the Garden of Eden. It's like, oh, I must go this way. This is the way. And I literally just ran with it. I was like, okay. And I went that way. And it was complete opposite way that I planned. And it made it far more interesting. I was listening to some really good books on the way. And I was just going over big rolling hills, all the animals, and watching these beautiful sunsets. And it was really, really lovely, and my mind had that chance to sort of reflect. And then I spent a night in the woods, so I was sort of like planning on finding somewhere suitable, and I was like, I'll keep walking. By the time it started getting dark, I actually ended up just jumping into a bush. There was literally, the trail was, I don't know, just here, like no gap between me and the trail at all. There's a little bush and a little bit of foliage, and I just sort of climbed in with my stuff, set up my bivvy, and went to sleep. It was really strange, and I sort of was peering out, expecting someone to come along the trail and be like, "What's that noise?" and freak them out. And I had a fairly good night's sleep. There was one point where I woke up. There's this thing. I think they call it the simian days. Basically, during our evolution, we had times when we used to fight like saber-tooth tigers and stuff, and we used to have big predators out and about. And so there's a part of our brain that's really attentive to sounds and potential threats while we sleep. And it's hard to imagine that when you're cozy up in bed and you sort of imagine, oh, I've never felt like this. But when you're out in the woods, a small noise like a squirrel or a bird or something crawling around can set you off and get your adrenaline pumping. So in the middle of the night, I just shot up, literally, like, imagine my top also shot up like this, straight up, pumping through adrenaline. I can feel my muscles like ready to go. And I was looking around, like, basically fight or flight is full on. And it was just a bird, and I had to like breathe. I watched a bit of Darren Brown with terrible 4G, and then went back to bed. And then I woke up, and I literally was sleeping by a tree. So there's this tree just like just here next to me, and I'm sort of like this. And I open my eyes, and I'm not moving my head, and there on the tree is a squirrel. The squirrel's upside down, and these big eyes, these big black eyes looking at me, and was just staring me right in the eyes. And I just stayed perfectly still. And for about 3 minutes, we were basically like soul gazing with each other. And it was a really surreal moment, like just waking up, and this squirrel was like, I don't know what it was like, didn't know what to make of me, and I was wondering what the squirrel was thinking, and I had this very like unusual experience, like this exchange with the squirrel, and then I slightly moved and it scuttled off. So I was like, this is great, I'm really back in nature. And I headed off. I had my final day, made it into Dover, and at that point I hadn't got enough supplies of water. I was sunburned, I was dehydrated, I literally was like all red and burnt. And I came in with all my stuff. I hadn't showered, and I had a bin bag wrapped around my bag to stop it getting wet. And I was just sitting there on a bench, and I got a pizza. I got a takeaway pizza. I was just sitting there, and the police, I think they thought I was homeless, because they came over and they tried to move me on. They said like, "Where are you sleeping tonight? We need you to move on." And they were like kicking me out. It was very funny. But yeah, a very eventful walk. It was very exciting. And I'm kind of looking at the next bits and pieces, the next exciting part of what I'm going to do. So, quickly before I get onto the new stuff I've been doing, I want to talk about some like new inspiration I've had. I think everyone has those points where they dip, and especially within the adventurous expedition world, if you're in the same place for too long, if you're a traveller and you feel like you're in the same place for too long, sometimes you just feel a bit stagnate. You stagnate a bit. You know, you slow down, and you need something to get you going again. And so there's people in my life, people I don't know, that have been helping me with that. So people I don't know, it's like the World Walk, still a guy, really great guy. He's been very unfortunate to be stuck at the moment. He's in Azerbaijan, I think, and he was walking and continuing his World Walk, and he's got stuck there during the pandemic, and he's been there for months now. So he's sort of gradually retelling these stories of his walks around the world, and he walked all the way down America, like from the top of North America all the way down, all through Mexico and down to South America to the base. And he's walked all across Europe, and it's like the continuation of his journey into Asia. But he's now stuck, so he's retelling the stories, and it's lovely to hear. It's very inspiring. And also Sean Conway, I read one of his books a while back. I think it was called like Cycle the Planet or something, and he sold his company for £1. He had a photography company, sold it for £1. He then spent £4 on a frame to put the pound in, so he made a net loss. And he then went off and he attempted to cycle around the world. He attempted to race some people on a bike. He'd never really done it before, and he trained for I think 6 months or something, and then off he went and he tried to do this loop around the world. It's a fantastic story. And he's done other stuff. He climbed Kilimanjaro dressed as a penguin. He's the only person to do a triathlon, so he's ran, cycled and swam the entire length of England. Crazy guy. And I've seen a lot of stuff he's been talking about recently, so that's been good. And also more close to home, actually just today it's been really nice. I went down to see my uncle. And so this is my dad's brother, right? So I went down to see him, and so he was talking to about this Atlantic road that he's planning. So he's going to be rowing across the Atlantic with 4 guys in a boat. So we're chatting about that, and it's blowing my mind. And even some of the stories of the smaller stuff they've been doing, like cycling to Paris and things like that. It's been nice. I think having that conversation with someone that's sort of similar of mind, similar of doing these adventures, has been wonderful. So lots of new inspiration, lots of new ideas that are like springing forth because of it. I think that's what I needed. I think I need another boost. I now have this time I can actually put my enthusiasm, I can put my creativity back into some more new projects. So I'm guessing this video is getting rather long, so let's let's move on to the sort of micro-ventures and expeditions. So in terms of the smaller stuff, we've got like a long period of time now where I want to start doing some more stuff. So I had a really good experience when I did the road to Red Hook, which was my walk from Noosa to Brisbane, and that was I walked 72 hours for a burger or whatever. So that was really fun. I think that was probably like one of the most transformative things I've done, which is really interesting because it was only over like 3 or 4 days. But it really had an impact on me, and the support I got from people, it was how I sort of imagined the walk would be on a bigger scale. So it was really good for me, and I want to do something similar. So I've been looking at other companies and people that might be interested in me doing similar things. So I've been looking at places in London, like ice cream places or drinks places or food places, that kind of thing. I like the idea of like, I walked a week to get an ice cream. It's just ridiculous. I think it would make really good content, and I can have everyone following along. So that's really good. I still have my plans of doing the Pendlewich Trail, which is me doing the Pendlewich Trail, 50 miles in a day dressed as a witch. I just haven't been able to get anyone on board with that yet. I need someone else to come with me. So that's in the works. And I'm going to gradually build up other things. So next week I'm going to be going for just like a 3-day walk and be staying 2 nights in the forest. And I'm gradually building because I think that's the only bit I have trouble with. I'm getting really used to it. Like I'm getting more and more used to sleeping outside at night. But there's like a toll it takes, and you wake up and you don't always get the best night's sleep, and sometimes it can be a bit freaky because you're just in the middle of nowhere, and then you have to go and walk like 25 miles or 30 miles, and it takes a bit getting used to. So I want to, at the moment I've got this huge challenge in the end that I'm aiming for, and I don't really know if I can go that long. I don't know whether I have the capability. I haven't done anything near that long. So instead of me sort of jumping in my head, I think this is what a lot of people do with ambitious projects. They don't want to start it, or they worry about it because it's such a big leap. So from here to where I want to be next year, it's such a huge amount to do, and I think it's really hard. And you can go around in circles thinking like, oh, I'm never going to get there. So instead of approaching it that way, I know that that's a potential date for what I want to do. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself, and I'm going to build it up. So I'm going to do the 3 or 4 day expedition. I'm going to build up and do a week walking and sleeping and doing all that stuff, and build up to a few weeks, and then a month, and then so on. I think that's the best way to do it, and that will give me a really nice idea and just sort of gradually harden me to what it would be like. So I've got some more things like that planned. Next week I'm going on a walk, so I'm probably going to walk up to Oxford from where I am, do like 30 miles a day, just sleep wherever I can, and very much mimic the walk conditions. And then I'm just going to start throwing lots of ideas out and try and do something every week. I had some weird ideas earlier on, which was like cycling parts of England dressed as E.T. for a children's charity. I want to do some really wild adventures, like this idea of like climbing Kilimanjaro as dressed as a penguin, like that's kind of wild stuff. And also just more project-based stuff that I'm working on at home. I'm going to buy a couple of broken kayaks. I've been looking at them on eBay, so I'm going to order a couple of broken kayaks. I'm going to gradually work on them and mend them. So I'm going to sand them down and work on them, and then I'll probably take a trip down the river. So I'll go like 4 days, and I'll sleep wherever I can, and all these literal like adventures that I can take you on. And I'll try and have tracking involved, so I have live tracking. I'll be posting lots of content and updates. So I think it'll be really exciting, and I'm really excited to sort of sink my teeth back into some new projects. And also to travel again. You know, I'm going to go meet lots of friends. I'm going to be getting back into sort of like nipping in places in Europe and through England to see friends, and we're going to sort of try and do some things together. So it'd be really, really nice. So that's kind of the smaller stuff. The big expeditions. So next year is still the plan. So I was thinking, my plan is obviously to walk from England to Turkey. That's always been the dream since I got back to England. Well, I mean, originally it was sort of a walk to Rome and like a pilgrimage kind of thing. You know, follow the old pilgrimage route, and then it kind of grew and grew, and I decided to walk to Turkey. And I feel like I've done this big leap, this big jump, and it's still the aspiration, but it's almost unrealistic to just presume that I can go for that long and be like a year and a half without issues. So I want to do something as a preliminary expedition. So I'm looking at May, April time next year to do Land's End to John O'Groats, which is basically walking the length of England. So that should probably take about 3 months. I think it's about 1,200 or 1,500 miles on foot. And it would be exactly the same. So it'd be like 3 months on the road, just sleeping outdoors, maybe couch surfing. So if I can get places, you know, so I'm sleeping in someone's sofa and that kind of stuff. If I can do that, it'd be good. But a pure example of what the walk would be. And then I'd finish sort of like June time, and then I'd have July and August next year to decide if I'm ready for the big walk. So I think it's good. I need to, you know, bear in mind that I need to do intermediate stuff. I know it's very easy to have this big aspiration but not be realistic about, you know, what you've done before. So I'm going to build up that, and we'll see how the England one goes. If I can hack it for 3 months and I really love it, then we'll be off. If not, what I'll probably do is head off to New Zealand or Canada for a year or 2 years after that walk, and make new content and do new things. But yeah, it's all kind of it's going to come together in its own organic way. Whatever sort of works out. I'm trying not to overplan or overthink it. I'm just building up with different expeditions, micro ventures, and then slightly bigger, and just see what happens. Okay, so that's enough for expeditions. I just have one last thing to talk about, which is content and stuff. So content-wise, for Patreon, I've obviously got a load of stuff coming out tonight that I'm going to put out. I'm trying to be quite regular with it, so sort of every Thursday trying to bring some new stuff out for you guys. And as we get more people on board, there's more things that I can do. There's more fun that I can have with it. We can do like Q&As, we can have tracking, we can do like votes on things, so we can vote on adventures live and make decisions and that kind of stuff. So as we grow a little bit bigger, we can do more. But I'm trying to do it like sort of once a week, and I'm putting other content out on the other platforms. I'm still working through my YouTube videos. I haven't got many left. I think I've got 4 left to edit. I've been releasing a video on my YouTube every week. So every Thursday night a video comes out on my YouTube. And I've got another 4 videos to edit from my travels after all this time. And then they're done, I'm on to new stuff, fresh and new stuff. So I'm going to be making a few things. I'm going to be making videos that are like more tutorial / how-to based, because I think that's a good way to grow. So making lots of stuff based on what I've learned from traveling, or you know outdoors and woodland things, and just unusual things like how to make campfire bread is one I'm going to make, for example. that kind of content. And also I'm going to be starting a podcast. It's going to be like something along the lines of the Return to Nature podcast, and I'm going to be talking about lots of different things. I had a whole range of topics to talk about, but I'm going to talk about various different aspects of life, and how we can sort of compare them to the way they used to live, and how we can use that knowledge to our advantage in the modern world, and how we can sort of simulate the natural way of living that we used to have. So that's something that I'm really excited about, and I can talk on different topics. I'm going to do lots of extra research before doing it, so I'm not just waffling on about stuff that's in my mind. It's also, inherently valuable to people at home. So I'm going to be posting a shorter version or like a YouTube version of that, and then the full podcast is going to be available on Patreon, which you can download. So I'm going to have like a download link, and you can download it and listen to it on while you're walking somewhere. I mean, if you enjoy the sound of my voice, it's great. If you don't, not so great. But I'm going to be doing that, and then I think as that progresses, I'm going to branch out and have like the Evil Ways podcast, where I can sort of talk about the more dark and seductive things that I like reading about or learning about. Looking at like illusion and magic and psychology and that kind of stuff. Looking at sort of the more underground niche areas of stuff that's a bit scarier but also fascinating. So I'm going to sort of be branching into these. I'm very excited to sort of get into these topics, and I think the podcasts and the videos I'm going to sort of mostly make while walking. So I'm going to make them while walking out, and then I'll add stuff in edit, like pictures and stuff going on in the background, and then turn it into a podcast and a video. So I think that'll be really cool. And then hopefully as expeditions happen and I do more things, then there'll be live updates with that, and you can follow along. And it will be all over the various platforms really. So there is stuff gradually sort of trickling out, and now I have more time, it's much easier to put stuff out, and I feel more energized, which is great. I think there was they were saying it's like the equation for doing well on these things is talent plus energy, right? Not sure about the talent part, but I suppose I am just, the proof is what I do, right? The expedition, and then the energy is really important. And I feel like that's with anything. Like if you're having a conversation with someone or you're telling a story, it doesn't really matter what you tell them. If you do it with energy, they seem to really enjoy it. So I think if someone can feel that you're excited about it, they're just equally excited. So hopefully that's the way you feel about these projects. I sort of throw myself into them, I get really, really excited, and I hope you feel the same. So I'll keep you up to date with what's happening. We're going to have one of these every month, and then you can have a little read of the other 2 bits of content that are coming out tonight. And then as and when more stuff comes out, and when we get some more people on board, we can just gradually expand. I'm very, very excited. It's now getting extremely dark. I really hope you can still see me on this. There's not a person in sight. I hope I can make it back without getting lost. I don't have a torch with me. That was a bird. Did you hear it? Anyway, I hope wherever you are, whether it's morning or night, you have a lovely morning or a lovely evening. And I'll keep you updated. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, I am very impressed.